Hi, welcome to CiaaValen. In this video, I'll be sharing the story of how I had a stroke, what the experience was like, and how I began my recovery journey. I'll talk about the signs I noticed before and after the stroke, how it impacted my life, and what keeps me going. So, if you're a stroke survivor or carer or just curious about life after stroke, I hope this video encourages and inspires you. So, for about a month and a half before I had the stroke, I noticed something was a bit off with me. So, in terms of my sleeping pattern, I'll usually my day would start from like either 4 a.m. till nearly midnight. So I'm on the go all the time. So that's what my day consists of, work. And I work from home, which was a blessing in disguise. But for about a month and a half, I noticed there was a huge difference in terms of me and how I'm active and all that. So I'd say around 2 o'clock or so, I'll get really, really tired and I'd want to sleep. And no matter what I do, no matter how hard I try to stay awake and work, my body wouldn't allow me to. And so, and I was having excruciating headaches that I was not able to um, maybe sustain if I could say that. I believe I have a very high pain tolerance. So for me to, I believe that for me to go, oh, something's not right, something's definitely not right. I'm not someone that would take painkillers for a slight headache. I'm not that person. Like I will push through. I'll have a drink of water or something. I'll just push through. But something was telling me something was not right. So about March of last year, because of what I do for work, I had some clients who I use half of my house as a transitional sort of space for them to come and I help them sort of transition out into the community. So there was an incident where um, one of them was really drunk and I was trying to diffuse the situation, and that led to him um, physically assaulting me. So I was okay. I was okay. The police came and they dealt with it. All was okay. And the police did ask me if I needed medical attention. And at that time, to be honest, I didn't really think that I did. I wasn't feeling any pain, like nothing whatsoever. So, but the next day, that was when the headache started, and that's when I started noticing the difference in, okay, something is not right. But then I wanted to see how I go. So I think I went for about a week or two, and then I thought, okay, something is definitely not right. So about this time last year, I went to my GP, and I actually, before I went to the GP, I went and I thought maybe my glasses. So I put it down. I was so well overdue to get new glasses. So I went to the optometrist and got my eyes checked. And the optometrist said to me, look, we need to do some extensive tests. Something's not right. Or we just need to figure out what was going on. So he put me in this machine and he's trying to test my eyes. And I kept falling asleep in this little dome machine. And when he looked at the results and he said to me, you need to go straight to your GP. Like from here, go straight to your GP. I said, yeah, I've already made the appointment. So I was onto it basically. So I went to my GP and my GP had sent me for a CT scan. And so I had all that done on a Friday. And then the following Monday was when I got the results from the CT scan. And with the optometrist, I had ordered new glasses, this one and another one, because I thought maybe because of work, I wouldn't be able to Maybe my glasses need to be adjusted because I sit in front of the computer a lot. So I'm trying to troubleshoot basically. Ordered two new glasses, went to see my GP, got the CT scan done. But by next Monday, I had the results. And the results showed that everything was fine. I said to my GP, I said, something is not right. And I kept my ear, and I think I remember leading up to the stroke about a month before I had the stroke, my ear was itchy. Like it was almost like you need to scratch your earwax out of your ear, and I was always scratching. But I said to my GP at that time when she gave me the result, she said, look, the CT scan showed that everything's okay. I said, something is not right. Like, I feel like there's something not right on the right side of my head. Something is not right. I'm just feeling it at this point. And, when they say, your body better, I think I did. I did. And I probably should have pushed more, but I try, obviously, like, I trusted my GP and we did what we did. So from that Monday came by Thursday, I actually drove from my house to the Central Coast, and with my ex-partner, um, we went there. And by the time I drove, on the way back, I had to stop to get a painkiller at a service station. So I was in excruciating pain. And by the time we got back, I couldn't make it home. He had to drive the rest of the way home. I was in no state to drive. By the time we got home, I said I just wanted to go and sleep. But that day in particular, I was bugging him to have Hungry Jacks. And so when we came home, he said, "Oh, he asked me if I still wanted Hungry Jacks." I said, "No, I just want to sleep." And it was around that time. It was like around the 2 o'clock mark, and I was like, I just needed to sleep. So I went to sleep. He actually woke me up at 5:30, and he's like, "Look, you want to go get Hungry Jacks? Let's just go. We'll just go and have dinner." So we did. The two of us left. We went to Hungry Jacks, and at that point, I was feeling very nauseous. Like, I didn't want to go in. I didn't want to eat. I felt like eating. I was hungry, but my body just wasn't accepting the food. I was quite nauseous. I was very, very nauseous, and I thought to myself, because the night before, I had about maybe 4 drinks, 3 or 4 drinks. I'm not a big drinker, but it was the 3 to 4 drink that I spaced out over quite a few hours, and I don't drink all the time. So I thought maybe I was feeling sick from that. I didn't think anything of it, and we ordered all this food, and I didn't want to eat the food. I didn't want to eat the food. So we ended up getting ice cream. We brought the food home. We got ice cream, and I had the ice cream, and I still couldn't eat the ice cream. So I held on to the ice cream. He drove. I couldn't drive. He drove home. We got to, as we came to maybe I'll say maybe about a minute and a half away from home, and I knew, like, I was starting to feel it. I wouldn't say like it's like my head was spinning or anything. It was just like everything in motion it was kind of like in a dream. I was like in a dream state, and everything was in like slow motion. And I remember turning to him, and I offered him my ice cream, and he was still eating his ice cream. So by the time we pulled up on the driveway, and I wanted to ask him again, and I remember I couldn't say anything. And he looked at me, and I looked at him, and he goes, "What's wrong?" And I gave him, I motioned the ice cream, but I couldn't move. And all I could all I could say was, "Get help." It took everything in me to say, "Get help." I knew at that moment that I was having a stroke. I knew that I was. And I think because of my first aid training, it helped me to recognize the sign. And so and he knows that I'm not someone that calls for help all the time. And it's very hard for me to ask for help. And for him to hear that, he thought I was joking with him, but I don't joke about things like that, and he knew that. So he came out, he grabbed the ice cream, and in panic, he threw my ice cream on the roof, I think. He threw my ice cream. So he came around and he opened the door and he was like, "Look, come on, I'll take you in." As soon as he got me out of the car, I dropped. I literally dropped. He got my legs and put my legs out of the car, and then he went to pick me up. As soon as he got me to stand up, I just dropped, and he basically caught my fall, and that's when we he I dropped onto the floor. I mean, onto the ground. He was on the ground with me, and he was calling out for help. We had some boys called out to my son. So by the time my son came out, so this was like 6 o'clock in the evening. My son came out as soon as they realized something was wrong. My son was on the phone to emergency, and that was 6 o'clock. By 6:05, the ambulance was there, and they pretty much picked up straight away that I had a stroke. And by 10 past, we were leaving to go to the hospital. So we went to not the closest hospital to us, but the closest one that could be attentive to my need. So it took me there, and before I was at the hospital before 6:30. By the time I got there, they were ready for me, and they administered the clot blasting treatment straight away. So within the space of like half an hour, I got the help that I needed. And so when they administered the clot blasting treatment, and then so I'd say maybe about, and I went in to have a contrast CT, and about around 8:30 ish, I was able to speak then. I was not able to move, but I was able to speak. So I ended up speaking to the neurologist. The neurologist confirmed that I did have a stroke. They have administered, the clot blasting treatment, and they will be transferring me to Royal North Shore Hospital. So, and that's what they did. They transferred me to Royal North Shore Hospital, and that was on lights and sirens. So I had to undergo emergency surgery. So one thing I quite remember from when I was having the stroke to when I was transferred to the first hospital, my mind was very clear. Like I knew exactly what was going on, but I just couldn't articulate anything. It was, when you watch a movie in slow motion, that's what my mind was like. I knew exactly what was going on in the time that it was going on, but everything was happening in slow motion. That's what the experience was like. And so when they've transferred me from the first hospital, St. Napier Hospital, to Royal North Shore Hospital, I remember the neurologist saying, "Lights and sirens, straight to Royal North Shore." And it was kind of like I was in like um a capsule. To best describe it, I felt like I was in a capsule, and the capsule was going really fast, and my mind was going really fast with it, but everything else around me was really slow. So by the time we get to Royal North Shore Hospital, I just remember the neurologist, the team that was going to take care of me. The neurologist was behind the ambulance. The other one was at the hospital waiting. So as soon as they wheeled me in, all I could hear was, "Yes, she's here. Yes, I've got the paperwork. Go straight to OT." By the time we got to OT, and I still wasn't able to move. I was able to talk, but I think by the time I got there, I was a bit out of it. All I remember was, straight to OT. I don't remember much of what happened as I was going into the surgery, or I just remembered neurologist saying to me, the neurosurgeon said to me, we're going to need to um, remove your clothes. And I couldn't, at that point, I couldn't really talk. That's the last thing I remembered. And then when I woke up in ICU, and I was told not to move for the next 4 hours. At that point, it was 4 hours. I was asleep for 2 hours, and they said to me not to move for 4 hours. I didn't know what to expect really when I woke up. I didn't know if I woke up um, after the surgery or I woke up days later. I thought I was going to wake up with like a bandage around my head. I did not know what to expect. So I was able to speak and I asked why I wasn't able to move. They said to me, I've had an angiogram. So, an angiogram is basically them going through my artery on my groin. So, my right groin, they've accessed my artery, my main artery from there, and they've gone up to my brain to retrieve the clot. But when they've gone in, the clot blasting treatment from Nepean Hospital had already worked. So they ended up putting a band. So what happened was and in my head, so there's there's a, a blood vessel that was a little bit narrower than the left side. So the blood vessel was the one that the clot, there was a blood clot in it. That was what caused the stroke. So the when they've gone in and they found nothing, they ended up putting a band to open up the blood vessel. So no, they did not do that on the first surgery. They initially went in to check and retrieve the blood clot. They haven't done anything at that point, but after I woke up from that surgery, I had the stroke on a Thursday, and Thursday evening, and I was walking by Saturday morning, and one I laugh about it now because I mean I look back and I thought, oh, you know, one one thing that really stood out to me was obviously that the time frame of when the stroke happened to when I got the help at the hospital. Time was very crucial. It's very, very crucial. But in the hospital, the nurses were beautiful. They brought the bedpan and for me to use the bedpan. And I don't think my mind wasn't really grasping the fact that I was not able to get up. Um, and so I decided I wanted to get up, and I was quite determined, and I was quite adamant that I don't want to use the bedpan. I wanted to go to the bathroom. And I remember telling the nurses, I said, look, I don't care if you drag my limp body to the toilet. There's no way I would want to go. I've got 5 kids, so I feel like, my dignity is all out the window, and there's like a little bit of a laugh about that. But at the end of the day, I think that was the driving force for me to get up. And I didn't realize I was on a machine to stabilize my blood pressure. So that was one of the things that prevented me from, them not wanting for me to get up and walk and all that sort of stuff. But I was quite determined. I really wanted to get up and I wanted to give it a go. And so, yeah, by Saturday morning, 2 nurses came and they helped me go to the toilet, and I walked. I took my time. I surely did take my time, but I did. I made it. And I was so happy, and I think that was it was quite an overwhelming moment for me at that point of time. Um, I still didn't know what to expect, but I spent a few days in ICU, and then on the so I had the stroke on the 25th of April a year ago. Um, and by the 30th of April, I had another angiogram, and that time was when they actually put the band in the blood vessel to open up the blood vessel in my brain. So with that, I spent another couple of days in ICU, and then after that, they've transferred me back to Nepean Hospital. So from there, I stayed till the 3rd of May. That was when I got discharged. So the hospital stay, the nurses were beautiful. They have done an incredible job, and I applaud them so much for what they've done and how much care they have taken in, assisting stroke survivors. And look, the one thing that really stood out to me was, there were quite a lot of stroke patients at the ICU where I initially stayed the first time I had a stroke at Royal North Shore. There were quite a lot of stroke patients, and one that stood out to me the most was it made me quite emotional because everyone keeps telling me, "Oh, you're too young. You're so young. You're too young to have a stroke." But really, really, I came to realize just how, a stroke can happen to anyone at any age. It can happen. So, I'm in my early 40s, and for someone to say to me, "You're too young to have a stroke," I was told there was a 20-year-old who had the same stroke that I did, and she was paralyzed from the neck down. She couldn't swallow. She couldn't swallow. And at that point, one of my son was 20. So it hit me like a ton of bricks. And that poor girl, that was it. Her life was, and when the nurses told me, I was like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Is she okay? Is she going to be okay? I found out later on that she had passed away. And that gave me, I remember being so emotional, and I felt for her, and I felt for her parents. But in my mind, I've got a boy that's 20. He was 20 at that time. So it kind of like, it hit me a little bit in my heart. And I started thinking back, and I thought, oh my gosh, one of my really good friends from high school, she had a stroke when I think we were 15 or 16 at that time, and she had a stroke. And it was amazing. I remember her recovery, and like I remember how she was, and I thought, oh my gosh, at that point of time, and I remember my friend, and I thought to myself, I'll be fine. Like she was fine. She was fine, but the transition from hospital to home, I did not anticipate how my life was going to change quite drastically. I came, when I came home, when I got discharged from hospital, all that was said to me was, make sure you you have a lot of rest. Take as much rest as you can. But no one prepared me for what I was going to face. And coming home, I was in the mindset of, oh, I'm fine now. I've been in hospital a few times, and I've come home, and I'm getting back to what my life, getting back to what my life was like. And the transition was quite, easy in a sense. But this I did not anticipate how my life was going to get flipped upside down. Like I said before, I went from my day would start at 4 a.m. and I won't go to sleep till nearly midnight. So that's how busy my life was. And I really enjoyed that life. I really loved my job. I really loved what I do. And I loved my family. I loved that I was able to provide for my family, my kids. My mom, she lives with me. And I just went from yay high to just down. I did not anticipate how much like the fatigue was going to hit me. I did not anticipate the constant headache. I did not anticipate the pain. At first, I was like, what is going on? I'm supposed to be okay. I'm walking. I'm not as strong as I was, but I was walking and I was grateful to be walking. I couldn't walk far without feeling dizzy and all that, but I was able to I was just grateful that I was able to walk, talk, you know, all that sort of stuff. But um I could not for the life of me prepare myself for what was ahead of me. I realized very quickly that my life is about to, or has changed quite drastically. So I had to get myself together really fast and protect my surrounding, protect my peace, protect the space that I need to recover. And I'm so grateful that I have my family, my kids, my my mom, my brother, my sister, my best friend. They are the pillar of rock around me to keep me um, going. They encourage me, they motivate me. And the one thing that I've asked of them is to not treat me any different. Keep everything the same and let me catch up. Let me catch up. That's how I want it to be. And that I'm just speaking from my experience. Everyone is different, but the most important thing was the mindset. I found that the positive, mindset around you, it makes a world of difference when it comes to recovery. Look, in saying that, I'm not saying that everything was rosy. When I came back from the hospital, I came back to quite a bit of chaos. My ex at the time, I found out he was cheating, and he was not only was he cheating on me, but he was using my car to drive the young girl. He was 47, the young girl was 17. The young girl whom I have helped, the young girl was actually the girlfriend to the boy that had physically assaulted me. So it was a bit of a mess. So I had to kick him out. It took me a little while to kick him out, but I did. And I will speak more about this a bit later on because there's a bit more to it. But this is what I meant by I had to protect my peace and my environment in order for me to recover. And I had to do what I had to do. So yes, he had to go. Everybody had to go. Everybody that is not contributing positively in my life had to go. I had to cut, cut, cut connections, cut communication. That was it. And I only kept the most important people um, that they were wanting the best for me and vice versa around. And that was what kept me going for the past year. So if you've enjoyed the video so far, I want to thank you for taking this time to share the journey with me. Please subscribe to the channel and click on the notification bell. I will be dropping new videos as I go to talk about the journey. Again, thank you so much. I appreciate you sharing that time with me. Be blessed, and I will see you again soon.